1, 1, 2, 3. Obliterate, obliterate, pestilence, bloodstrike. Throw in a runic power spender between each cast, and you have the basic Frost DK rotation. The priority for spenders is as follows. First is a Killing Machine empowered Frost Strike, then a free Howling Blast with a Rhyme proc, then a normal Frost Strike, and if we have no runic power, we can use Horn of Winter. So again, the core rotation is 1, 1, 2, 3. 1 spend, 1 spend, 2 spend, 3 spend, repeat. Before the pull, you're going to want to be in Blood Presence for the extra damage. 10 seconds before you hit the boss, use Army of the Dead, and use your haste pot right before you get into combat with the boss. If you want to, before the pull, you can also use Death and Decay and Horde of Winter to generate runic power, but make sure it's 10 seconds before the pull so you have your runes back up. For the opener, first we're going to get our diseases up with Icy Touch and Plague Strike, then use a Rune Tap / Unbreakable Armor macro, Obliterate, Frost Strike, Pestilence. Now we're out of runes, so if we've done the first part right, Empower Ruin Weapon will let us use Obliterate 3 times. After that, use Raise Dead and spend as much runic power as you can until our runes are back up for the 1, 1, 2, 3 rotation. Every 1 minute when Unbreakable Armor comes up, we're going to use it preferably after we use a Blood Rune on Pestilence or Blood Strike. Here's the Rune Tap and Unbreakable Armor macro. Put your Trinkets and Engineering Gloves in here too. Here we are, 10 seconds before the pull, casting Army of the Dead. We are in Blood Presence. Right before the pull timer, we haste pot and then start with the opener. Get your diseases up, use your Unbreakable Armor macro, add in a Frost Strike so we don't cap too much on runic power. Make sure you cast Pestilence right before Empower Ruin Weapon so our diseases won't fall off during the burst. If they do fall off, refresh them with Icy Touch and Plague Strike. If you forget to summon your ghoul, just do it whenever. So these numbers in the filled runes are called Runic Grace. If you spend a rune up to 2 seconds after a rune comes off cooldown, it counts as if you had immediately spent it for cooldown purposes. This is what lets us cast fillers without losing any Obliterate casts. If you want to min-max your damage, play around your Runic Grace timing in order to decide to skip fillers or Bloodstrike in order to prioritize Obliterate. Sometimes you'll have 2 Death Runes, which will let you cast a 3rd Obliterate. This is a bait and will make your diseases fall off. However, if that Obliterate will kill the boss, that's the niche case where it actually is good. As we can see in the damage meters, Obliterate does the most damage per cast, so prioritize it above all else. Frost Strike is the next best ability, so that's why spending as many runes as we can to gain runic power is important. Icy Touch and Plague Strike damage is really bad, so that's why we never want our diseases to fall off, so we never have to cast them again. For extended AoE pulls, with your first set of runes, get your diseases up, then Howling Blast and Blood Boil. Then in your second set of runes, use Death and Decay and Howling Blast, and refresh your diseases. The reason why we don't cast Death and Decay in the first set of runes is since Death and Decay has a 30-second cooldown, we won't be able to get a second cast of it anyways, so by delaying it, we get another Howling Blast in. If you use AoE during a boss opener, you can use Empower Ruin Weapon to get the first and second set of runes spent immediately. When Death and Decay is on cooldown, just use Obliterate and Blood Boil instead. Spend your runic power when your AoE spells are on cooldown. For shorter pulls, it's not worth getting your diseases up since they won't last long enough to do much damage, and Icy Touch and Plague Strike do no damage. Instead, just blast using your best spells. For single target, prioritize Obliterate. For AoE, use D&D and Howling Blast. Other spells we have is Frost DK or Mind Freeze, an interrupt that's free to use, Anti-Magic Shield or AMS. Using AMS to block magic damage gives you a ton of runic power, so do that when you can. Death Grip can help pull in casters so you can AoE them down. Iceborne Fortitude gives some damage reduction, so that's useful on fights with AoE damage. Strangulate silences a target for 4 seconds. Death Pack sacrifices your summoned pet to give you health back. As Frost, your pet is barely up, so this is really hard to use. And that's it, thanks.